Arsenal consider activating midfielder's £33.5 million release clause. Arsenal are tracking Elche midfielder Rodrigo Mendoza ahead of a potential move, with the player having a £33.5 million release clause in his contract. Sam Dean reports for the Telegraph that Arsenal's recruitment team have been tracking the progress of Elche 20-year-old Rodrigo Mendoza, who has a release clause of €20 million or £33.5 million. The Gunners are likely to face competition for the signing, with Real Madrid among his admirers in Spain and interest from some of the biggest teams in Italy. It's also not expected to be an imminent deal, with Mendoza more likely to leave Elche next summer than in the January window, though Dean doesn't completely rule out the possibility of a winter move. Arsenal's recruitment team are planning for the future as well as the present, and Mendoza is in their long-term thinking, though the report stresses that there are no guarantees the Gunners will make a formal move. Mendoza has made 10 appearances for Elche this season, scoring a couple of goals from his role in midfield. Internationally, the 20-year-old has been involved with the Spain under-21s, playing alongside summer Arsenal signing Christian Mosquera. Despite his age, Mendoza has already played for Elche's first team 61 times, though he was somewhat aided by their status as a second-tier club until this season. That's ended up working perfectly for the youngster's development, allowing him to make his breakthrough while Elche were in the lower leagues before stepping up to La Liga this summer. With a contract until 2028 and that tempting release clause, it may not be long before Mendoza is on the move. Whether that's to Arsenal remains to be seen. Arteta can finally ditch Gyökeres for Arsenal star who's like Ian Wright. There remains such a will for Victor Gyökeres to succeed at Arsenal, yet with the first half of the season at an end, it just simply hasn't worked out for the Swede so far. Against Aston Villa last time out, the £56.5 million man notably saw his header fly agonizingly over the crossbar, having also spurned an early chance against former club Brighton and Hove Albion after side-footing his efforts straight at the grateful Bart Vertonghen. A year ago, amid his red-hot form for Sporting CP, the 27-year-old would likely have leathered that attempt past the Dutchman. But now, looking short on confidence and influence, he appears half the player who netted 97 goals in just 102 games in Lisbon. Viewed as perhaps the missing piece amid the Gunners' recent title woes, on current evidence, it looks like Mikel Arteta's side will win the Premier League in spite of their marquee summer signing, and not because of him. The one-time Coventry City hero looks like he needs to come out of the firing line, although if it's any consolation, he isn't the only center-forward summer signing to have made a stuttering start to 2025-26. How Gyökeres compares to other Premier League striker signings. It was the summer of the big number 9, although following a transfer merry-go-round, there have been rather mixed results for Premier League forwards of late. Prior to settling on Gyökeres, it had looked like as if the Gunners would be turning their attention to RB Leipzig's Benjamin Sesko. The Slovenian has since scored just twice for Manchester United. A longer-term target had also been that of Wantaway Newcastle United man Alexander Isak, although Gyökeres' Sweden colleague ultimately secured a British record switch to Liverpool. Now out with a reported leg break, the 25-year-old had scored just 2 league goals for his new club prior to that. An even greater disaster has also occurred in West London, with Liam Delap yet to score a single top-flight goal for Chelsea, while João Pedro has also flattered to deceive for the Blues, albeit while notching 6 league goals to date. The 2 biggest high-profile success stories have instead come from the Bundesliga, with Hugo Ekitike and Nick Woltemade scoring 15 league goals combined for Liverpool and Newcastle respectively, while the more muted free transfer capture of Dominic Calvert-Lewin has worked wonders for Leeds, following the Englishman's 8-goal league goal. Gyökeres, as is evident, is not at the bottom of that pile, but he's nowhere near the top, with Saturday's clash with Bournemouth providing the perfect chance to shake things up. Arsenal's new Ian Wright can now replace Gyökeres. Had Kai Havertz not missed much of the campaign through injury, there would have been a real conversation to be had over who should be Arteta's starting striker, with the German having been the go-to man last season. back on the bench against Villa last time out, the German's return might come sooner than later, having scored 22 league goals across the last 2 campaigns combined. The problem? Well, there is now a new contender for that number 9 berth in the form of the resurgent Gabriel Jesus, with the Brazilian marking his fine recent comeback with that stunning strike against Unai Emery's men. A man who looked dead and buried at the Emirates, having gone almost a year without scoring due to injury, the former Manchester City star is ready to challenge Gyökeres and Havertz again. Of course, it has been 3.5 years hampered with stints on the sidelines, but at his best, Jesus is such a handful, notably looking the part right from the off on debut against Crystal Palace. That August night at Selhurst Park, which also saw William Saliba make his first Arsenal appearance, showcased everything the Brazilian is all about, subsequently lauded as magical by Sky Sports pundit Gary Neville. Such a bright start also saw Arsenal hero Nigel Winterburn describe Jesus as like Ian Wright due to his goal-scoring prowess, having previously scored 185 goals for the club. Like Wright, who hit 185 goals for the club, there is such finesse and poise to his finishing. Be it a deft chip or a curled effort from range, he is the type of striker who can make finishing look easier. Just 27 goals in 102 games have followed in North London, alongside 20 assists after his Manchester highs. But at his best, he appears to be everything Gyökeres isn't. Electric, dynamic, fluid, comfortable drifting into wide areas and dropping deep to terrorize center backs. With the benefit of having also been part of a string of successful title bids at City, the 28-year-old could be the missing piece that Arteta has been waiting for all this time, with Gyökeres yet to prove he can be just that. Keeping Jesus available and managing his fitness will be imperative over the coming weeks and months, but the comeback kid deserves a run of games to prove his worth. With just 18 months left on his current deal, this must well be last chance saloon.
But before we look too far ahead for Arsenal, let's just take a moment to reflect on where they are in terms of, the turn of the year. I know they've played a game more than a couple of the teams who will be hoping to catch them, or certainly more than City who'll be hoping to catch them. But 6 points clear of Villa, 7 points clear of City. They couldn't have hoped for much better at the start of January, could they, Merce?
No, 100%. I think come what last August, if you'd have said they're going to be 7 points clear of Man City and Man City's game in hand is at home to Chelsea, you take that every day of the week. Every day of the week, yeah. They've just got to keep on going. They've just got to keep on game by game. The games go very quickly. I think how many games in January, so many games, bang. Before you know it'll be March and then it starts. The last 8 games. Man City will be thinking, if we can get within 3 points of Arsenal with 7 games to go, we will fancy our chances very strongly. If it's at 6 and 7s, I don't see it. But get down to 3, and then I think it's proper game on. That's what Man City will be aiming for.
And it's not just that. It's the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. It's top of the Champions League table. Everything is going so well for them. I honestly think that it's probably the least important competition for them, but I genuinely believe the Carabao Cup is going to be so important because if they win that, it will just relax them into the rest of the season. It will take the pressure off to a certain extent. Don't get me wrong, they want this. This is the one they want. They want the league title, and then the Champions League can take care of itself. If they're lucky enough to do the double, unbelievable. But I do think that they've just got to win a trophy. And winning that Carabao Cup, because it's not the sort of game you want to lose against a big rival. You know what it's like of Arsenal, Chelsea. It's a huge one for them. I think it will just relax them, because at times I feel with Arsenal, as good as what they've been this last few years, they've been so unfortunate, but I also think pressure has sometimes got in their way. They've wanted it so badly that it hurts, and that can sometimes come at a cost, and it has done. But I feel that if they can just get that one and everything else, there's no reason why with this squad, because look at the players they're not even bringing off the bench. They're not even bringing off Eze today, who's an unbelievable player. They have got such an incredible squad, and that has been their downfall over the last few years, Paul.
But that squad is going to be so important. Natalie pointed it out there. I was talking to Mikel Arteta about it there, about how busy their January is. But there are away games in the Premier League between now and the end of the season. You look at the Manchester City one, and if it stays sort of nip and tuck between them within sort of 3-4 points, then that could potentially be significant come the end of the season and, on the 18th of April. But do they look winnable to you, Paul?
Yeah, they all look winnable. I think what they won 5 and drew 2 of them games, obviously Leeds weren't in the Premier League. So if they can match what they did last season, that means they draw against Man City and they draw one and win the others. They take that tomorrow morning. They take that tomorrow morning. But on any given day, you've only got to go back to last year. Ball goes over the top, Saliba gets sent off, lose the game. It just takes that one bit of lack of concentration or a bit of luck or bad luck here and there. But they're hard games. Tottenham ain't going to be easy. Brentford's not easy. Long throw, got one of the best home records in the league. No one likes to go to Leeds. Leeds, it'll be electric. You can make a case for all them teams. Forest are fighting for their lives. So, when they play Wolves might be shackles off, or who knows, Wolves might have won 4 on the trot. It's all about timings when you get down to there.
How important, Paul, is it that you've got a bit of breathing space in that game, April the 18th? You don't want to be going there feeling like it's a must-win, do you?
Oh, you'd want to be 6 points clear. You want to be 6 points clear. If that's a 3 point and Man City win that and go level with what would be left then 4 or 5 games, you've got to go with a team that have got over the line umpteen times to the team that haven't got over, and that's what. But they've got to look after them games before that. Who knows? Man City, a couple more draws like they did against Sunderland, and they might fizzle away. But they just got to keep on doing. They're doing amazing at the moment, Arsenal. And their squad is so strong.
It does look so good for Arsenal. They're in pole position. As you said, they've got the squad depth that maybe they've been missing in previous seasons. If it is going to turn, if it were to go against them, where do you think might be the weak point?
Up front. I don't think Arsenal have a natural goal scorer. Gyökeres has come in as supposed to be that goal scorer, but I don't think he's a natural goal scorer. You know what I mean? He never really tapping balls in. He's always got, he hasn't scored a lot of goals, full stop. I think that's where because when it gets down to the last 8 games and it gets so nervy, believe me, it's so nervy. You might need that out of something, and I just don't think they got that natural goal scorer. The nearest thing to it probably is Jesus. But he goes for Gyökeres before him, and I think he'll go with Havertz before him as well when he comes back. So that would be the one for me. I just don't think they have that goal scorer, do you know what I mean, out of nothing.
Having said that, they managed 3 today against Bournemouth.
Yeah, they got 3, but they were 3 very good goals. One was from a centre-half and 2 from a midfield player. Again, not a centre-forward.
No.